to today's Dashcam Diary of a Disabled. Today is the day I leave for Vegas. I'm so excited. Woof woof. Vegas bound. I'm not on my way there yet. I am just getting done with my chiropractor. I just got done with it. I'm completely realigned, and all I feel is inflammation now. Son of a gun. The inflammation should be fine though. I'll be fine. It'll all be fine. I gotta take my other medication. Oh, I hate this part of the road. And I have somebody right on my butthole too. There's all the shifting of my stuff. I was able to load all my totes into the FJ last night, which my back, it really threw my back out for a number. It really went out. I had quite the adjustments this morning. Now I'm on my way to go get some caffeine, because I'm going to need it today. And then all I got to do when I get home is pack up all my beads that I'm going to bring with. So that's going to be the hardest part to decide, is what beads do I want? What beads am I going to bring? Because I'm going to have to make beads on the road. I'm going to have to finish all my projects in camp probably. So I got to make decisions. Gosh dang it, and I don't have a drink for my pill. I finished it off. I got to wait till I get caffeine. But I'm pre-gaming my anxiety med. I already know how it affects me while I'm on the patch. Oh God, it's so hard to swallow without something to drink. All I've got left. Oh, I do have my cooler with me. What am I thinking? I'm so silly. Last night I spent time charging all my extra batteries. I'm gonna have to eat my banana too. So what all I've got left is I need to pick out my beads, put those in the trailer, and get my food. Get my food all ready to go. Right now, since I'm done with the chiropractor appointment, I am headed to get caffeine, get gas, go home, eat, or get some tuna salad made with some of my homemade canned pickles. My scorpion and ghost pepper pickles are going inside my tuna. I'm going to have some tuna fish sandwiches for on my road trip. I might do a peanut butter and jelly too, I'm not sure. But yeah, I need to load up my coolers still, which I think I'm going to just put the coolers in my vehicle first, because I'm going to need to have all my snacks and stuff for the road ready to go. I can't be messing with stuff while I'm driving. Especially a long trip like this. And I need to get some cash out from my friend for some other supplies I'm stopping for in Eugene that I can't even use. But I'm stoked to go get some party favors that I can't use because of this patch. But when I get off this patch, I'm going to celebrate someday. For my mental health, I microdose lion's mane mushrooms, and it helps my mental health. I do that very infrequently, but when I am going through a lot of stuff, and it helps me get through, and it makes me have a really happy, smiley time. But due to the interactions between this patch and the mechanisms that the microdose substance use, lion's mane mushrooms, which actually do have a lot of other health benefits. There's a lot of funguses that provide all kinds of benefits. I mean, it's from fungus and mushrooms and molds and stuff that they came up with antibiotics. Well, China, I don't know if it's Chinese, I think, or Eastern medicine, trying to use the appropriate terminology in today's society. Like I said, I guess I didn't say, because I don't think I'm posting the video I recorded on the way to the chiropractor. I'm going to post this one instead. Oh gosh, I forgot what my train of thought was. One sec. So yeah, the mushrooms do interact with the mechanism that it uses one of the same mechanisms or pathways that this patch does, and the risk of using that plus this or any other kind of prescription medication. I had to be very careful about prescription medication and other substances that I may ingest on occasion. It's all in the name of mental health, though. I wish I had a therapist, but this is why I do YouTube, so I can therapy myself, talk about my days, vent and rant about things that upset me, and I learned that is a trigger for me, so then I can talk my way through the reasons and why I got upset the way I did, and then what can I do to change that from happening again. All I have to do is rewire my brain and think differently about things. It's all a matter of perspective. You have to learn how to change your perspective in order to really analyze and think about what it is you're trying to say or get across, and what it is that changed your feelings from something positive to a negative. You really got to ask yourself lots of questions to figure out what it is, why are you feeling the way that you feel. And it's a lot of introspective inner work, and only you can unlock that in your brain. And it's up to you to learn how to open up, not only to somebody else, but learn to cope with the outcome of opening up to other people about these situations or experiences or feelings or whatever it is you're trying to figure out. This is also why I'm going to get a little off topic here, a little context. I've done a lot of research. I watch a lot of YouTube videos and YouTubers that talk about different substances, substance use disorder, just usage in general. I learn as much as I can about everything. I need to very carefully monitor what I put in my body. My body is oversensitive, it's dramatic, and it's going to overreact with everything that it does, pretty much. So I have to be very mindful and really think about what I'm doing and what I'm putting into my body. I've always been one to want to experiment with stuff, and I know what I enjoy and what I don't enjoy, and it's very few things. But when it comes to substances, I only enjoy things that help my mental health in these days by make it worse and not go into any kind of psychosis. I already take my Adderall, which helps me with my narcoleptic afternoons. And my energy levels, because of my chronic fatigue syndrome. Adderall really helps push through and be able to function through other times that you normally wouldn't be able to push through because you're fatigued. If your body is constantly tight and trying to keep it stable because it's fighting gravity and it's fighting hypermobility and loose ligaments, things are going to shift and move so much easier and faster than in the regular population. And that's what EDS does. It makes you more susceptible to everything. say breaks in the bones, but as I age, those too will get very brittle. So I'm just hoping that I don't break things in my older age, but instead I'm going to just mess up all the soft tissue and connective tissue instead. And all my joint cushionings and stuff are going to be jacked up because I'm trying to live life. And now I've got bulging discs in parts of my spine that I've never had before, and I'm so pissed off about because I had, with all the injuries and stuff I've sustained throughout my life, it's all soft tissue, and it's all ligaments, and those are so stretched out that they can't keep me together. Can I just get a doctor to shorten all my ligaments so I can stop being so hypermobile? That would be nice. Volunteers, anybody volunteer who's a surgeon, who's a doctor here, who can get in there and like shorten my ligaments so my muscles don't have to work so hard, so then I'm not fatigued halfway through the day. Please, I need help. Operate on me. Make me a robot so these human parts that always break down won't break down anymore. It'll just make other parts break down faster, probably. The body likes to adapt. Oh man, I need to get a hold of my one friend. Just thinking about the body and stuff. My friend from elementary school just had like over a month-long stay in the hospital. Maybe even 2 months. I don't know. It just seemed like he was making a lot of Facebook posts. And when I see people, this is the biggest indicator of somebody's mental health and physical health, or just one or the other, physical or mental health. When one of those two, or all of that goes awry because of physical injury or illness, the depression is real, man. The depression, the anxiety, the pain, all of those things change your brain. They will change your chemicals in your brain drastically if you do not compensate and try to do things to grow your brain instead of shrinking your brain. You need to work out your brain and learn. Never stop learning. And that's where a lot of people in my generation above me, they don't read anymore. They don't try to keep up with society. There's a reason why they made a movie back in the day, Grumpy Old Men. Well, it's really grumpy old people. They've dealt with a lot, they've experienced a lot, and they know a lot. And I love old people. I love talking to old people. But a lot of old people are not very kind. A lot of them are really grumpy, and they just, I feel like my mom's kind of a grumpy person. My dad at times too, but my mom more so. Sorry, Mom, I love you if you ever watch this. But a lot of my family members and friends that have known me almost my entire life, none of them watch my YouTube channel. None of them support me in that kind of way. But they also really kind of already know me, but they really don't know me because they don't know my thoughts and feelings on all this stuff. Nor does any of them ask. They all just think I'm lazy a lot of the time. A lot of the time, my aunts and uncles will ask my mom, like, why did Jenna do that? Why did Jenna do that? Why'd she post that? Like, come on, man. Come on, man. My mom's side of the family are always just so... They're also like, they tell it how it is. They're very kind of brutal, honest. Whatever the mental chemistry of my mom's side is, it's something. The generational trauma that they have was worse than mine. That's for sure. I know my mom grew up in poverty. My mom sometimes didn't even have shoes. She came from a large family. She has 7 brothers and sisters, and they all lived in like a 3-bedroom house kind of thing. But if you think about somebody that has 8 children, they span many, many years apart. Older sisters, younger and older brothers and sisters. Oh, a lot of my mom's older siblings, well, the first 3 older siblings of hers had a different dad. And then the rest all came from the same dad, my mom's dad. So whatever is in her dad's genetics, man. Ooh-wee. I don't know what was in my grandma's genetics either. But I love my grandmother. She was like the hardest worker. And so all I know about some of my mom's trauma growing up, I mean, besides living in poverty, she dropped out of high school. She never graduated high school. She dropped out. My dad graduated high school. But yeah, my mom and dad were neighbors. They met each other. My mom was actually friends with one of my dad's younger sisters. I'm almost ready to take my order. 1 second. Alright, got my order placed. I'm going to have to pause it again, but that's okay. There's like 3 cars in front of me, but this Dutch Brothers is pretty fast. So anyway, yeah, my mom came from a large family and in poverty, and they had to work. They were kind of like my grandparents' slave labor, really. Like, my mom grew up doing a lot of farm work. I mean, she just, they grew up in a very, very small agricultural community, which isn't actually too far from where they end up, settling down at in Salem, Oregon, where I was born. Whoops. Next person's ready to go. Come on, man. Drive up. Pause again. Hold on. Oh, of course somebody's turning left. Oh my gosh, there's such a line of traffic trying to get out of here. So, yeah, both my parents grew up in a farming community, but my mom and dad's lives were completely different from each other growing up. My dad grew up also having 7 brothers and sisters. So I have 14 aunts and uncles, 7 on my dad's side, 7 on my mom's side, plus their spouses. So, I mean, really I have like double that. Like, I don't know. I don't do the math. But I grew up with a very, very large family. As a kid, all the relatives would come to all the birthday parties, and plus my mom's birthday was on my birthday, so we celebrated me and my grandma's birthday together a lot. It was awesome. It was nice to be able to share that celebration with her. I never saw it as a burden. At the point when I became a teenager, I had friend parties for my birthday. I had like big birthday parties. My mom would like let me go all out on my birthday. Going all out is not what it is today, that's for sure. Like, I did nothing compared to some of these entitled young people that come from families that have money. They sure do. I've seen some of my Navy friends go all out on their kids too, because being in the Navy, you make quite a bit of good money if you make it up in rank. I was making decent money when I was getting out. I mean, I'm making what I make now, what I was making when I was stationed in Hawaii as an E6. On my fixed income now, I make about $5,000 a month. But it's still not enough to pay all these hundreds of dollars of co-pays, try and pay rent, and do anything extracurricular or fun in my life. I would have no money left over, even with owning some of my vehicles and stuff. And I plan to buy a car next year, because I can't afford this gas in this FJ. I'm going to keep this FJ, but I don't know where I'm going to store my extra car. I don't know where. I'll be able to store it. So, anyways, as I was saying about my parents, they completely different childhoods, and so their parenting styles are very different. And that's why they butted heads and couldn't agree with how to disciplined me with my ADHD-ness as a child and my behavioral, emotional outbursts and tantrums. Like, no joke. As a toddler kid, because of me being sick the majority of my childhood, I had tubes in my ears 3 times. I could not hear because I was constant ear infections. Because things just didn't form all the way in me with my spina bifida. I was just born jacked up. I was born inflamed. Like, I was a huge baby. I looked like a marshmallow man in my baby picture. I still have yet to go through and find it again and post it as one of my thumbnails and show how much of a big fat baby I was, with a freaking long ass black hair like this long off my head when I was born. I was a big baby. I was so big. I was 10 pounds 13 ounces as a baby, because I wasn't formed all the way. My immune system and stuff were all jacked up from my spinal being all messed up, my spinal cord. And I'm still having spinal cord issues to this day with having any kind of bulging disc on it. And it's so troublesome. I'm having some nerve pain going down my left leg right now as we speak. But that's besides the point, it's whatever. I was born jacked up, but since I was a toddler, everything that I heard in my ears, because I had inner ear infections, it was like underwater. I couldn't understand what people said. So I had a very hard time communicating with my parents, which my brother helped pick up the slack because he was more in tune with me than my parents were, until my brother decided he didn't want to, help me anymore, because he resents me for getting all the attention that I got as a kid, because I got most of my parents' attention, where he was mostly neglected and not really thought about. He wasn't neglected. I mean, he was fed and stuff. Like, take this with a grain of salt. Like, we were not neglected. We did not go without. My mom wanted to make sure of that. She wanted to make sure that she gave her kids everything that she could not have, which is basically clothes and anything else. And, TVs were like big, huge box things in the 80s when I was a kid. We didn't have TVs in every house like we do now. We're spoiled now with all our electronics and stuff. But we worked hard for this in our lives. Come on. But yeah, on my fixed income as a disabled person, I make as much money now as I did in the Navy. And that was about $5 grand a month. I mentioned that already. But the family growing up, my mom came from a different kind of background than my dad. And we swear that my dad's mom does not like my mom very well. Never really has. I think my grandmother on my dad's side stuck up. Stuck up and judgy because she was a Catholic. My grandmother was a devout Catholic, and so my dad's older brother Bill and my dad went to Catholic school where there were nuns, where they were using rulers to slap their hands that they didn't write correctly. My dad has had the most beautiful penmanship his entire life because of it too. Like, my dad had beautiful handwriting and cursive. More so cursive than handwriting, but it's because his hands would get smacked by them nuns. And in the 80s, it was also acceptable to spank your child for discipline. I got spanked a lot as a child. I got punished for acting out and having big feelings when I couldn't communicate. When I communicate effectively with my horrible speech and then my hearing. So it really affected my comprehension in school. At one point, the teacher said I should have been held back one more year, but I moved forward anyway. My mom has this big thing, or did, I don't know if she does now, but she has this thing of like, my kid, there's nothing wrong with my kids. They're not being held back. There was a huge stigma in the 80s. This is why there's so many undiagnosed Gen Xers, my generation. There's so many undiagnosed ADHD problems in almost all my classmates that I had. Not ADHD, but yeah, there's just trauma. Susceptible to trauma, not ADHD. I had that turned around. My dyslexia. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Just explaining myself. I know better than to drink caffeine without eating my banana and stuff first. I need to make sure I drink water first too. If anything, I might put this sucker in the freezer and let it, or in the fridge to let it not defrost so fast. Because I think I want it on my drive, and I have a little bit to do at home before I go. So, my mom's childhood grew up in poverty. Wrong side of the tracks is what my dad's mom would probably consider. Because my grandmother has she's passed away. May she rest in peace. I still love my grandmother. Even though I'm talking crap about her, like, this is how she was. She was not very kind to my mom or my dad's older brother, Bill, who also went to Catholic school. My grandmother does not like his wife either, my aunt. She never treated... A funny observation that has been talked about by my mom and my family a little bit off and on is the difference between my mom's and dad's side of the family. And I have one uncle on my dad's side that never married. So there's that. And all the rest of them are married except for my Aunt Melissa, one of my dad's younger sisters. She didn't choose a very good path in life. And now she's paying the consequences for that. She got really bad into heavy drug use. And it's messed her up mentally. And it has messed her up with cirrhosis of the liver with her drinking and stuff. She's been in and out of rehab and halfway houses. That my poor aunt, she just cannot, she doesn't have it all there. And she ended up getting divorced. Thank goodness, because he was the problem. My uncle was the problem, ex-uncle. He is the drug abuser. And but for whatever reason, so my grandmother had 3 boys on my dad's side, and the rest were all girls. Well, Mark never got married, and Bill and my dad are the only 2 other boys in the family, and my grandmother did not like either of the women they married. My mom or my aunt, Shirley, never treated them very well. So my dad's mom absolutely adores all her fucking girls, had adored all of her girl kids. But to tell you the truth, all my aunts on my dad's side, I don't like any of their husbands. I don't like any of their husbands at all. I kind of have the opposite bias. Because they're all mostly pieces of crap. Drug addicts. Even though my aunts aren't into drugs and addicts, except for the one that was. And the one that didn't get married, the uncle that didn't get married, he moved almost all the way across the United States because he had a drug problem. pain pills and surgeries. He has had so many elective surgeries just to stay on the freaking narcotics. I don't know how well he's doing now. He did not age well. He's kind of a jerk. He doesn't do anything at home. My Aunt Debbie was a CNA, a registered nurse or something like that. She worked at the hospital for a long time. I don't know what they're doing now exactly to afford where they live, but I don't know. But their house is completely falling apart. Nope, not really much floor. Like, how can they live in those conditions? Like, I cannot find the respect for some of my aunts and uncles on my dad's side because of who they married and where they're living and like their living situations. It astounds me. I'm talking more about my family, but this is like a getting to know me. Like, this is the family that I have, that I grew up with. So that Aunt Debbie with the falling apart house, black mold, like, I'm surprised she's not gonna, it's probably why they stay kind of sick half the freaking time, because they can't get out of the mess. And the hell of it is, though, their son, Daniel, so the guy that Daniel, my cousin, considers his dad is his stepdad, the one that loves surgeries and pills. Well, they have butted heads so many times, but with those kind of situations where Daniel grew up, they don't maintain the houses that they live in very well. They don't do the repairs they need to do in a timely manner. They just let shit fall apart, deteriorate. They just don't know. I don't know if they don't have the common sense to do, like, logic. Like, I don't know why they don't help their situation, because my cousin Daniel, who lives in Vegas, by the way, I'm going to go visit him. Can't wait to go see him. He doesn't know when I'm going to be there. I just don't know what days I'm going to be available to hang out. So, I have plenty of time. I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks. The festival's only 4 days long. I'm going to need recuperation time. I'm going to need recuperation time before I go do anything else. I'm going to probably sleep for like almost a week after EDC, probably. But that's besides the point. But my poor Daniel cousin, like, the way he was raised and how he is as an adult now, guy isn't married either. He's single like me. And I hate to say this, and it's not, I'm not trying to go there. I'm not incestuous, but I tell you what, my cousin Daniel is a good-looking kid. He's a good-looking guy. I don't know why he doesn't have, like, why he hasn't gotten married. He doesn't pick the right girls, I swear. I don't think he picks the right kind of girls. But he lives in Vegas, and I don't know if he can find the right kind of girl in Vegas. I just don't know. A lot of the women that live in Vegas either work in casinos or other things. I don't know, because certain parts of prostitution's legal in certain areas in Vegas. So as much good looking as tempting as those kind of women would be to date, I wouldn't want to date somebody like that if I was a dude. I would think that there's too many fake people in Vegas, and you're either on vacation or you live there, and it's a lifestyle you lead, But my cousin Daniel is not frugal with his money. He doesn't like to gamble, really. I hate to say it, he's a tightwad because of what he experienced growing up and not necessarily knowing the stability of where they're going to be at with a non-working stepdad. I'm going to get gas here. Poor guy. Like, he does not have the relationship that he should have with another guy. Maybe that's why I don't want to get into too much psychoanalysis kind of stuff. But he actually gave my aunt and uncle, his mom and stepdad money, and I'm talking about thousands of dollars. He's saved up. He's a tightwad, but the reason he has money is because he has been a tightwad. So I think it's a good thing because he did lose his job for a while, and I don't know what's going on with him now, but I'll catch up with him when I'm in Vegas. I only got secondhand information from his mom. Alright, cleaned my windshield and all too. So yeah, my family stuff's quite complicated, to say the least. I've got a large family. Each family member has their own thing. My Aunt Tammy, my dad's side, she got into a really bad car accident right in front of us. It was during a wedding. One of my cousin's wedding a long time ago. She's now divorced to the person that she married that day. The cousin. But we were all in procession going from the wedding to the reception area, which was a different location. And we were on some country roads, and me and my family, we were actually supposed to go in front of Tammy and Ben and their son Sean. And their son Sean has cerebral palsy, and he's in a wheelchair. He's actually now like 25, or gosh, is he 30? I don't know, man. But my cousin Sean is old, and they didn't expect him to live this long, but he sure is. He's sure proving them wrong, and he's just in a lot of pain all the time. But they live up in Washington State because they actually have better Medicare, Medicaid services than Oregon does, which I honestly do agree with them. They have better resources in Washington for a lot of different things that Oregon doesn't have. After living in Washington for some time, I understood some of the politics a little bit living in that state. When I was in the Navy and living in other states like Colorado for a couple of years, I lived in Hawaii for a couple of years, I lived in Virginia for 4 years, but I really didn't live in Virginia because I was on my ship and I was out to sea all the time, so I didn't spend as much time in Virginia as I did in the other places, even out of those 4 years. Didn't last. I was out to sea all the time. We were always training, always doing exercises off the coast in the water, in the ocean. Almost home. So my Aunt Tammy, she had some medical issues. Then my Aunt Stacy. My Aunt Tammy is my dad's youngest sister, and then Stacy's a little bit older than Tammy. And then it goes Melissa, then Mark, and then Lori or Mark might be mixed up. I'm not sure where they fall on that. I've been following all of it. And my Aunt Stacy married a narcissist jerk, and what's funny is like a lot of our gatherings and get-togethers is on my dad's side of the family before my grandmother passed away, growing up and stuff. Almost all the events, none of my aunts would bring their husbands. Their husbands have never been people to go to our family get-togethers. So it's always just the girls and then the boys with their wives. Because the boys had better choices in spouses. My opinion. But also my mom shares that opinion. I'm a little biased because of my mom, and their biases. But I get the point. I understand. It makes sense to me. Like it's weird how none of the husbands ever come to any of the events. But when it comes to my mom's side, like a lot of people don't like each other on my mom's side. And a lot of the siblings don't even talk to each other anymore because they've all pissed each other off and screwed each other over in some kind of way. and their grudges they're going to take some of their grudges to the grave, and that's unfortunate because I believe that siblings should get along, and you should look out for each other, especially even as adults. After your parents go, you know, that's all the family you got left are your siblings. Me, I don't have any children. I have nothing to pass my crap on to. Like, after my parents are gone, I really doubt I'm going to have much association with my brother whatsoever. We'll see how things change. It's not from lack of my part. It's because of my brother being on the spectrum, and his emotional regulation and executive dysfunction sometimes really gets the better of him. He needs to learn how to stem. I don't know what his stems are, but he needs to learn how to stem to let some of the overstimulation go. He's got to figure something out. He goes to therapy all the time, too. So he's really big into mental health, and he's really big into trying to help himself. Oh, where'd the mom go? Huh. Anyways, I'm home. It's time to rock and roll and get my stuff ready so I can get on the road. Peace.